Fitting the window seat to inside existing walls can be difficult. Begin by placing a scrap piece of 1/4-inch plywood where the top will go. Screw it in place to keep it from moving.
Well, there's a lot of different ways to cut and fit this top. The traditional method may be to use the compass and come along the side and scribe, and then come back to that mark onto your actual piece and transfer that line to your finished top. You could also use a square like this. Again, up against the edge, scribe alongside the edge, and then come back and mark the top that way. But if you're like me, it never seems to fail that whenever I need the compass, I can't find it. And the square becomes a little bit awkward in transferring the measurements. So I've learned a new technique. It's called a frogger. Froggers are designed to help us plot points.
Make your frogger by cutting a piece of scrap stock into an irregular shape, similar to a Christmas tree. Place the frogger into the corner and carefully trace the profile. Mark all the way around it, being certain to emphasize the irregular edges. Move the frogger point 6 inches down the wall and trace the profile here as well. Continue this procedure around your pattern. The result looks like a piece of abstract art. Lay the pattern over the actual 3/4 plywood top, which should be cut slightly oversized. Place the frogger over each traced profile and mark the point location on the top. Set the first location so that there is an extra 1/8 inch for fitting the back edge of the plywood. Continue to place the frogger on each tracing, creating a series of points which establish the profile of the wall. Remove the pattern and play connect the dots. Use a straight edge set from one dot to the next adjacent dot. Mark that location and reset the straight edge to the next point. Continue in the same fashion, creating the profile of the wall. The value of this method is clearly seen when a straight edge is placed between the front and back points. The wall on this side has an irregular curve that deviates nearly 1/4 inch. Use a jigsaw and carefully cut to the line. Use a fine-tooth blade to avoid chipping the finished edge. Test fit your cut carefully, making any adjustments with a block plane. Then back bevel the underside slightly. Set the finished piece in place, being careful not to damage the drywall or the edges of your top. Check the final fit to the wall. The frogger technique yielded these impressive results. With a caulk seam and paint, the top will be perfect. On this project, the bottom shelf extends 4 3/4 inches beyond the wall. Transfer this distance to the lid support and allow a 1/2 inch clearance for the lid. 5 1/4 inches will be the width of the fixed portion of the top. With the top in place, mark out your cutting line at that distance. Allow enough room at the back edge for the lid to clear the window ledge. 3 1/2 inches worked well here. Cut the top carefully and install the fixed portion. The lid will rest on the 3/4 inch lip. Attach the top from underneath with 1 1/4 inch screws. Install a continuous length piano hinge using the screws provided. Attach it to the lid first and then to the top. Check the fit before installing all the screws. The margins at the sides should be identical and the operation smooth. The last pieces to be made are the vertical trim pieces on the sides. They'll provide a recess for curtains and match the look of the wall case. Glue and staple plywood spacing blocks to the 3 1/2 inch wide plywood center. Attach a plain piece of 3/4 inch MDF for the back side of the seat, making it flush with the spacers. The front edge gets a 4 inch wide fluted piece. Attach this one the same way, making sure it is flush with the spacers. Place the staples carefully to ensure that they drive into the plywood. The resulting piece has a 2 1/2 inch recess for curtains and will look like a classical column which provides support to the arch above it, giving visual continuity. Cut the first piece to length and drive it into position, tight against the wall case trim. Use 3.5-inch screws to reach into the framing. They will pull the piece up tight to the wall, making a good seam. Measure accurately and cut slightly long. Better to recut than have an unsightly gap. Install this side the same way.